I think that the reason nutrition is so tough for so many people is because there is a lot of people that look great, that have absolutely aspirational physiques, that are pitching suggestions that are completely unrealistic for the average person.
It just takes a little bit of planning. And now what's happening is because I'm pre-prepping, especially like ground beef and stuff, the convenience is still there for me. So like before, what would be convenient is like heating up some chicken nuggets, right? That were frozen. That was convenient.
For the average person that just wants to feel better, just wants to look better, stick to these basics. Don't overwhelm yourself because we all have going on.
What it all comes down to, man, is figuring out what works for you and finding a balance that you could be consistent with it for a very long time. Let's do this. Welcome back to the podcast. Gabe Yanez and I, we are joined by no one today, just him and I, and we are getting after it. Man, I've had a good day of podcasts and working out, and I'm fired up and ready to rock. I sent you a text message this morning or a picture, and I just want to kind of start off this podcast by saying this, and I have some other things to talk about, but time shouldn't hold you back from putting points on the scoreboard. Time shouldn't hold you back from getting in something. And I think that, we allow like something to get in the way of we allow perfection to get in the way of just doing something. So this morning, this is a real life example. Gabe knows I'm not the most structured. It's something I'm working on. Actually, this 3 meals a day with TrainHard 5 has been really good for me. I'm not the most structured person. I generally resist structure. I don't know if some of you guys are feeling that same way. And so my calendar normally isn't very up to date, and it causes some issues sometimes, and something I need to work on in 2025. This morning, I had a group of guys come into the garage, and I forgot I had a podcast at 7 a.m. and I had them scheduled to come here at 6:30. So it's 5:30 in the morning. I look at my schedule. I'm like, oh boy, I'm only going to be able to have these guys in the garage for 30 minutes. And so I text the guys. I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. And they just write back, Roger that. Let's get in a 20-minute AMRAP. Let's crush it. And then you hit your podcast. And it's a good example that if you only have 20 minutes, if you only have 30 minutes, I could have easily just called the guys and said, hey, I need to cancel because I have a podcast. I'm sorry to reschedule. But instead, I'm like, dude, come over. Let's smash it as hard as we can for 20 minutes and then move on with our day. So that's the inspiration today. Don't allow perfect workouts get in the way of just getting a good one, because here I am a couple hours later, I'm feeling fired up and I already got points on the scoreboard. Let's go.
What did you end up doing for the 20 minutes? What was your smasher for 20 minutes?
It was a 21-minute AMRAP or 21-minute EMOM that was inspired by TrainHard Force. I adjusted it a little bit because we couldn't get in the strength, and basically got in some box jumps, some biking, and some devil's presses, and we just absolutely just annihilated it. And the way we approached it, actually back on we are in a conversation recently about warm-ups and stuff. The way we approached it is because they showed up. Dude, I threw on the music. I'm like, hey guys, for the first 5 minutes, let's take it low key. And so we were talking as we're going through it, not hardcore talking, but just having a conversation, blah, blah, blah. And then we started ramping it up. And then the last 10 minutes, we just absolutely annihilated it. And it was awesome. It was incredible. It was just a great way to start the day. And I just want to make sure that other people in similar situations can do the same thing. Even if it's 20 minutes, man, get it in, get after it, and then move on.
We've said this so many times, and it's just so true. And it's worth always just restating that, dude, if you have 10 minutes, you can get some quality work in. 10 minutes. If you drop down, do a set of push-ups, say it's a day where literally no time. And I find that hard to believe, but say no time. Dude, between calls, you can do something, you can move. And I used to be 100% guilty for this, but it's just shifting your mindset that it's 0-1, whether you complete a workout as written, get the benefit from it, or if you just move your body, it's still movement. You just have to make that switch in your head. Because for a long time, I would have been the guy that if I didn't have time to finish the entire session that I knew I was going to do that day, it would A, make me really upset, but B, it was it's not even worth doing half of it. Because if you're doing half of it, you're not completing it. So it's almost like doing nothing, but that's just not true. You would get the benefit of doing just the strength portion, or just the conditioning portion, or just half of the conditioning portion, or 2 sets instead of 4 sets, whatever it is. So yeah, man, it's cool to hear that, you were able to pivot and get that done. And we'll probably say it till we're blue in the face, but you don't need an hour, 40 minutes, 45 minutes in a day to just put points on the scoreboard, to get something done and feel like you didn't let whatever curveball you got thrown at you kind of derail you not letting your momentum get to zero. So I love that, man.
Yeah. And shout out to the training partners too, like in surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Like literally, I'm pulling up the message and I said, my buddy messaged me, hey, are we working out in the morning? And I wrote back, yes. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh crap. At 6 a.m, I messaged him, forgot I have a podcast at 7. We'll hit a 20-minute AMRAP or EMOM at 6:30 and then let's just smash it. And he goes, sounds good. I'll be there. Like having those type of people around you have similar mindset, like, dude, great, let's go. I think it's just, I don't know. It's something I wanted to share because I think that that message needs to continue to go out. And I think that what we're doing with TrainHard 5 is very practical. The way we're looking at nutrition, the more and more I talk about it, the more excited I am about the impact it could have on people. I actually think what we're doing with TrainHard 5 could be one of the most impactful things people could do for their life for the long term. And that's why I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited about it because the TrainHard 5, if for those of you who haven't heard us talk about it, I'll just kind of quickly go over it. It's prioritizing protein. It's having 3 meals a day. It's this idea of no alcohol or very reduced alcohol. It's a 90-10 rule, which I think is really good. Dude, 90% of the time, eat well. 10% for that day, eat what you want, right? This way, it leads to consistency. And then finally, taking progress photos across many weeks, I think is critical. And the reason why I think these 5 are so important is that we're not talking about some fad diet. We're not talking about some restriction diet. We're talking about something that people can do for the rest of their life. And if they embody it, man, it's just like, I don't know. I've been hard on the paint since the new year on it with no alcohol and 3 meals. And I just feel like it's been a missing step for me. And so I want to preach from the hilltops about it.
And so many of the things that we have in there have these other tangential benefits because the structure, I think, helps with a lot of things because it makes you more mindful about, having to go to the grocery store on the weekends and make some picks where you're thinking about, hey, I'm doing this TrainHard 5 thing. So you're making like healthy choices with the food that you're going to have available with you at the house. And just even that level of preparation puts you in front of most people because a lot of people struggle with their nutrition, not because they don't know what they should be eating or shouldn't be eating, but because they poorly manage their time and energy. Because you're more likely to make a bad nutrition choice when you're super short on time and super high on stress. When you're like, dude, I haven't eaten anything all day.
And super hungry.
Back-to-back calls, and I have 10 minutes right now. You're going to go and raid your pantry. You're going to go and you're going to get like a handful of tortilla chips. You're going to get like, some bread that you can quickly grab and just whatever is easy so that you can get back on whatever call you have or whatever responsibility you have. Whereas if you do the prep beforehand, because you're like, hey, these 3 meals are super important, you're just more likely to have that food even available. Even if you didn't prepare a meal or cook a meal, that means that you have stuff in your fridge that allows you to make a better decision. So there's so many benefits to that. The booze thing I think is huge for people because I think a lot of people don't realize how much better they can feel if they cut back to 0 for a period of time, which can just help them recalibrate what moderation looks like moving forward, which I think is huge. The progress picture thing is huge because like, yes, the scale is going to give you some information, but like, this is one of the most like, overstated things, but it's true. Muscle weighs more than fat. Like if you are really doing the stuff that we have on the app and prioritizing your protein, you might not lose weight. You might actually gain a little weight. And you're going to get frustrated by that if all you're doing is staring at the scale every day. Whereas if you take these weekly pictures, you're going to be like, look at that. Like I look different. You're going to see some more definition. You're going to see things changing.
It could be motivating.
Super motivating. And also like if you truly commit, like what I suggest people do is set up an album on your phone. I have an album on my phone. It's called Body Comp Progress. So that also you can like easily go back and like revisit them if you want to, and you're not like scrolling back through all your pictures. So set up an album and have a calendar invite on your phone. Like just set it up. Fridays, whatever. First thing in the morning, like you see it, like, hey, go take your progress picture.
I'm doing one today.
And turn that into a habit. Turn that into a habit because if you know that is coming up, it's almost an accountability tool. It's a little similar, maybe not the best analogy, but similar to the training partner in that like, you know that you have to take that picture. And if you've been, a little bit too loose for the past 2 weeks, like it is going to show. And that in itself should be like a little fire to, hey, we're all going to slip up for a day, 2 days, a weekend, but it's going to get you back onto your plan sooner. Cause you're like, hey man, like I can't let all this progress go to waste, because I know I have my progress picture coming up. So a lot of powerful stuff in there, man. I'm super pumped. I've gotten some messages about people that absolutely love the simplicity of it. The other thing that I really, really was thinking about when putting that together is like, this shouldn't be like a crazy math equation or like this very stressful, like, what? I can't eat all these foods. Like, what if my spouse likes this? What if my kids eat this all the time? Like, I didn't want to make it no dairy, no sugar, no this, no that. And like, here's how you calculate here's how you calculate like your carbs versus your fat. And like, here's how much you should eat on training days versus resting days. All things that like, if you're super advanced and have a super specific goal, there's some value to that. But I think that for the average person that just wants to feel better, just wants to look better, stick to these basics. Don't overwhelm yourself, because we all have shit going on. We have kids, we have jobs, we have relationships, we have things that like add to our stress bucket. You don't need nutrition to be another stress bucket. Keep it simple. Protein, 3 square meals, consistency, no booze, and progress pictures. And dude, it's going to be fucking awesome. So I'm excited, and I've already been getting a bunch of people that are, we're only a week in here, but that are just excited by the simplicity of it. So definitely go check it out if you haven't already.
Yeah. So what's been helpful for me too, like even before I got on this call, typically, I mean, dude, my nutrition was, I'm not going to say my nutrition is perfect, but I just didn't really think about it. I just didn't really care. It was what was ever convenient for me. And now what's happening is, because I'm pre-prepping, especially like ground beef and stuff, the convenience is still there for me. So like before, what would be convenient is like heating up some chicken nuggets, right? That were frozen. That was convenient. Or going to a local coffee shop and grabbing a breakfast burrito, like just super convenient. And I would just do it. And it would never even I would never think twice about it. But now, because we have a bunch of ground beef, a bunch of different stuff, rice, already like prepackaged rice, they're just as convenient as the other stuff, if not more. I just have to, it just takes a little bit of planning. Like as long as you have a little bit of planning, you have some, so like we could cook this ground beef. It's just ready. Oh, I could have rice that's just ready. And for me, those probably build up the bulk of what I'm eating right now, is like some type of meat product and rice. And maybe some fruit. I'm pretty simple. I don't need to have variety. It doesn't bother me at all. For Ashley, it's really important to her. So she'll create like really nice meals at night. And it's also a way to save some money, right? Because instead of going to a coffee shop and spending, especially here in California, it's like a $9 breakfast burrito that's like, size of my pinky. I could have some ground beef and some rice that's, way, way more effective. So that's been really helpful. And the part about the booze, I think for me, I've been pretty vocal about this. Like I'm a sucker for an Aperol spritz. I'm down for some wine. I'm ready to, if you really want to kick it back, I'll throw down some martinis. Like I'm ready. Like I'm good. But I think that because I've committed to no alcohol, and it's been really easy with the family because they already know that I'm not drinking, it's not like a big deal. I think I was making it a bigger deal than anybody. You're at a restaurant, right? You could just order, like, the kids get an Arnold Palmer, so do I. The kids get a mocktail, so do I. The kids want to get a, decaf cappuccino, great. I'll do the same thing. And so it's like, I'm basically just doing whatever the kids are doing, which has made it really easy for me, instead of just doing what the adults are doing, right? The adults could do their thing. I'm just kicking it over here with the kids, having whatever they're getting. So it's been nice. It's been a nice change, and I'll keep you guys apprised of it. This week for the men's club, the one that we do every week here locally, I'm going to send out some more information on it. I've been layering it in, but this week I'm going to really encourage all of them. I've been encouraging them, but I'm going to really put my flag down. Like, bro, you guys got to get on the TrainHard 5.
Let me share something with you that might be a little controversial out there. Not controversial with you, but in like the nutrition space. And I just saw a video that Ryan Fisher and Tanner, I forget his last name. He's like another, content creator, fitness, nutrition guy. They were having this talk about how, like, when was the last time you ate fast food? And he was like, dude, like, never. And the whole clip was like, dude, you couldn't pay me to eat fast food. And it's like, I can skip a meal and wait until I have access to something better. but I'm never going to like have that junk. I'm never going to like, do that thing. Like it's all about my standards. And like a lot of that is Ryan Fisher's brand. And I think Ryan has done a phenomenal job helping a lot of people with exactly what we're trying to help them with. Like absolutely transforming. He does a really good job. Follow his content, really appreciate what he puts out. But that's somewhere where I wholeheartedly disagree with that approach, because I think that like, should you eat fast food every day? No. And I'll give you a real life example. The other day, so I've been going to a physical therapist for the sciatic nerve pain that I've been dealing with. And dude, the only time she could fit me in was like middle of the day. And it was like, it was a nightmare to make it work, but I made it work. But that meant that like I went straight from one of the calls that we had like podcasts back to the Wallaroo call, back to something else. And I knew that like the second I was off the call, we have to get in the car and go. And we get in the car, we go, I have my appointment, we're on our way back. And that means that I haven't, like now we're pushing like 3 p.m. and I haven't had lunch. I had breakfast, hit my protein goal, but like we're getting late here. And usually I prepare my lunch at home, and I just hadn't thought about it. So dude, when the kids were sleeping, they were napping in the car. So I went through the Whataburger drive-through, and I got a grilled chicken sandwich and a grilled chicken like taco. And I ate the sandwich and I ate just the chicken out of the taco. And dude, like I wholeheartedly think that was the better choice than skipping that meal and just letting that be the excuse to not hit my protein goal at that point, possibly now be starving once dinner time comes around. And like, again, you can look at a fast food menu, and like all fast food isn't going to be ideal. Sure. But there are options that you can have there that hit a lot of the principles that we're talking about and aren't going to completely derail you. Like 100%. And if anything, I think that it's the better decision. I wholeheartedly think that I personally was better off doing that than saying, hey, like junk food and fast food and like, oh my God, and trying to like starve myself until dinner, because also we were running short on time. I wasn't really going to have time to like get home and go and like have the lunch I would usually have and then come back to like whatever I had to do next for work. So that's something that like, I think we can agree to disagree. And I think that a lot of
some of it could be for the content, right? Like,
sure.
You just putting out this message because, but there's
I'll share this with you too. Like I used to be, and you know this, you make fun of me all the time about it. I used to fall very much on the fence of like, there are just certain things that like, I just don't touch. Like there are seed oils and fast food and stuff that like, if you're eating that, like you're poisoning yourself, whatever, like this really hard stance. And dude, like becoming a parent changes a lot of shit, man, because you just like, I think that it's a disservice to be that dogmatic about
almost anything.
On almost anything, but I think specifically with nutrition. And another post that I saw, our friend Jordan Zayat, who's very much falls on, the side of like, dude, don't be crazy about food.
Yeah,
like,
you'll be fine.
All this stuff. Like, I think he almost falls a little too much on that side for my taste. But anyway, he had a post, also controversial, where he was saying that like, a lot of people out there, and I'm not saying that this applies to Ryan, but I do think that it was an interesting observation in general. But he was essentially, I wish I could look up the post, but he was essentially saying that a lot of the people that fall on this super hard line nutrition stance of like what is good food and bad food are actually people that have like some level of disordered eating themselves. And like, that's where that stuff stems from. And
well, I mean, Thomas DeLauer talked a little bit about that,
100%,
right?
Man, 100%.
And Nick Bears talked about that, right? A little bit. Yeah, I mean, that's a hard, like, I don't know if there's a direct correlation.
I think he's also being clickbaity. Like, I think when you look at a lot of this stuff that like makes an Instagram reel, like everyone's playing the game, like you're looking for a hook, you're looking like we're talking about it. So clearly it worked. Like you're looking to say something that elicits some type of emotion. But I think that there's a little bit of truth there in that. I think that the reason nutrition is so tough for so many people is because there is a lot of people that look great, that have absolutely aspirational physiques, that are pitching suggestions that are completely unrealistic for the average person. And I think
and it doesn't sell. Like, so for example, at TrainHard 5, like, bro, not that long ago, honestly, I had like nostalgia with Taco Bell. I did. I had a fucking bean and cheese burrito, and it was great. You want to know
Was
why?
it great though? Was it great? Because
It was great.
I've revisited some things that I used to remember were delicious.
Okay, it wasn't as great as I remember, but it was still great. And I remember being back in high school, being broke, probably drinking too much and getting Jack in the Box tacos. Remember though, dude? And you'd put the Jack in the Box sauce on there, and $2 for $1. It was great. Now they're $2 for $2. Inflation's gone up. But dude, there's something about that's like, it's okay. You'll be fine. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Like, that's what I like about the TrainHard 5 is like, there's nothing clickbaity about it. And maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe we're not going to get as many people to, click into it because it's not extreme. It's just normal. And I think that normal leads to longevity. I've been in this game a long time. And I've met with thousands of coaches, thousands. And I've spent so much time unpacking so many different things. What it all comes down to, man, is figuring out what works for you and finding a balance that you could be consistent with it for a very long time. And I think that the TrainHard 5 being the way it is, it gives exactly that. And that's why I like it. That's why I can kind of endorse it. I'm not going to endorse a restrictive nutrition plan. I'm not going to endorse something that is, I know, only going to lead you to a better body in 45 days. That's not the goal. The goal is to be jacked and capable for life. And that's what we're trying to give you.
100%, man.
I get super fired up on this because I think that, the fitness industry has done itself a disservice from some of that stuff because, to your point, the bridge is too far. And we've talked about this internally. Sometimes we actually create that bridge too far in terms of fitness. And that's something we got to work on as well. Like doing 20 minutes workout.
I love it, man. I love hearing you talk about it too and be excited about it. So yeah, TrainHard 5 accompanies every training program we offer for free. So you can purchase it as a standalone. It's there. If you're just looking for a nutrition resource, super happy with what you're doing training wise, great. You can grab that and obviously it'll work, but it's very much meant to be done alongside our training programs. There's a bit in there that helps you figure out how much protein you should be aiming for, kind of based on how much you're training and stuff. So really useful tool. Go check it out. A lot of time, effort, and passion went into it. So I'm excited that people are benefiting from it.
Yeah, I'm getting the guys all fired up on that at the men's club this week. Dude, so speaking of which, you brought up the app that photoshops you to look jacked.
Oh, dude.
So what's the future of content? So AI has really transformed a lot of the content, right? We know that. The other day I was playing around with an AI platform and I typed in, create a video of Jason Khalipa, like telling you your top 5 best workouts or whatever. And it created a video, long form, 11 minutes long. And it wasn't able to use my voice, which I appreciated. It used some like random like German voice, which I thought was odd. But then it like talked about things that I would talk about. It would pull content from things I've talked about. And then it has random videos in the back of like, being at the gym, makes you warm up. It's like some random gym member warming up. But dude, how about this one that an app can Photoshop you to look super jacked? Like literally, you sent it to me. You can like grab your chest and like make it bigger, right? I can't hear you. Oh, now I can.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, it was like by body part. It was super strange, but then the end result was like surprisingly convincing because obviously there's, Photoshop has been around for a while and people doctor photos, but it almost always looks silly like this and how quick. And I don't know if this is how quick it works on like the actual app, but essentially the ad just had pictures of guys that were like a little fluffier in a bathing suit. And then it would be like, make their chest bigger, make their shoulders a little wider, make their waist a little smaller. And then by the end, they would look fucking great and it looked good. And I was
that's your new profile picture right there,
my
bro.
head started spinning because it's like 2 things. A, as we start to live our lives entirely more digitally, like when does it start mattering more how you can just look in a picture or in a video or on social media than how you look in real life, which is not great for many reasons, right? Like I understand because I feel this to my core that I want to look a certain way. There's some vanity to that for sure. But there's very tangential benefits to putting on muscle and reducing body fat where like I know I'm healthier because of those things. Once you can just do that by, downloading an app and putting a picture up, like you're not getting the health benefit. Like it's obviously just so bad for so many reasons. And then luckily we're not in this space anymore, but dude, everyone dates online now. Everyone dates online.
Yeah,
like, dude, how many profile pictures on dating profiles now are like just so far from what they really are? So that's wild too, right? But anyway, dude, it was the surprising thing, and why I shared it is just how realistic it looked. I wish I even had the name of the app. Maybe I can go back and look at it. But
yeah, I mean, it's just I think people are gonna have to wisen up to it. I think even like our kids are gonna have to become wiser on deciphering between AI generated and real, and it's going to get harder and harder and harder to do that.
That's what I was going to say. When it gets really good, how are you distinguishing? Like that's the challenge.
I don't know. Like, I mean, even take, for example, the catastrophic LA fires. Let's just use those as an example. There's no doubt in my mind that's real. It's not AI. There's none of that, right? But, is there a world where you can make another area look just like that later on with AI? Like, probably, right? I mean, I don't know. Could you have showed beforehand Malibu the way it is now? It's just absolutely terrible. It is terrible what's happening there. But AI in the future, like, could someone actually think that's happening and it wasn't actually happening, because it looks that real.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be super weird, man. Super, super weird, super trippy. I think that's where I remember. So you remember when NFTs were like a huge thing?
Oh, of course, like you bought something. Like, dude, you were on that Gary V train, bro.
Yeah. And so this is one of the things they talked about at BCon, which, so I got his NFTs, which was honestly like one of the only ones that hasn't like completely flopped because, he does a really good job with what he's built behind the IP. But anyway, the whole thing was if you purchase the NFT, that was tickets to this conference for the next 3 years. I ended up only going the first year. But one of the things that they talked about there was the real importance of NFT technology moving forward, because everyone always said, like, why would I pay $1,000 for a picture of a monkey, right? Like, why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense. I can screenshot it. Now I own it. But the value of that technology is because there is something unique about the NFT that's coded in there so that you know that it's the real NFT. Like, you can screenshot the, Crazy Ape or whatever those super expensive ones were, but you don't actually have the one, and it could be verified by the code behind the actual image. And I think that like one of the things that I remember that they brought up there was eventually, once like the bubble bursts and the fact that everyone was just buying NFTs because they thought it was a way to make a quick buck, the way that technology is going to be powerful in the future is if you create a system where all original, say, videos coming out of the Joe Rogan podcast, for example, have to be part of a blockchain because they're original, like they're the NFT video version, then you can't create an AI or there's a very black and white way to verify if you're making a fake AI version of Joe Rogan talking to someone, because it's not the NFT version. It's non-fungible. It has code behind it or whatever that makes that a one of one. There's only one video file that's authentic to him talking to, Theo Vaughn or talking to whoever. You can take clips from that, sure. But if you try and make a fake one and you don't have the ability to create whatever makes it an NFT, then that's how in the future we'll be able to distinguish between what is real and what is not. And if you think about it, that does make a lot of sense. I'm only like knowledgeable enough about this stuff to be dangerous. So like, I'm sure there's a lot of holes you can poke in that, but that to me always made sense about how this stuff will be important in the future. Because when you get to a point where you can make a video, like you said, and look at it and be like, I don't know if that's real or not. What if there's a backup code to it that then, okay, this is real, this is not.
Whatever happened to, did the Gary V stuff, did the VCon still continue on?
Yeah, he had 3 years of it. What you could do if you owned the original NFT was it would drop the ticket to the conference to your wallet and you could sell the ticket I still own the original NFT, but I sold the tickets for the conferences that I didn't go to, because I like travel and stuff, and like Ariel was pregnant at the time, it just wasn't going to work out. But we still own the NFT, and that's just something that will have value as long as he continues to build what this VeeFriends thing is going to be. Like, he has cartoons, he has he's created brand deals with like different like stuffed animals and stuff. Like, he's trying to make it the next Disney. He said that from the beginning. Like, he wants this to be like, and the characters in the universe to be something that kids are collecting the figurines, and like, it's a huge universe in the future. And if you own the original NFT of that, like, there's value. There could be value to that. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, crypto's going crazy. I mean, dude, with Bitcoin over 100,000, which is wild, dude. I mean, it's just like, man, remember my buddy with Cheddar? Oh, Cheddar still breaks my heart, man.
Cheddar.
Dude, the Cheddar song, man, Cheddar went up and then it went back down. But
well, have you been following the Hawk Tuah girl?
No, dude, what happened with Hawk Tuah girl? I only knew about Hawk Tuah, I think, because of you.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. Dude, there's some things that you're so on top of, and some things that I'm like, you live on.
No, dude, that other thing you told me about,
that I like don't understand how you don't know about it.
No, hang on. That one thing you talked about, we should do another poll online. So the contest has been settled on the Audible thing. But
no,
dude,
it most definitely has not.
Dude, the results came back that 51% of people agree with me.
51% of people are wrong.
And then the second thing is your whole website about like betting, dude. No one's heard of that. No one has heard of that.
That's not true. Polymarket. Polymarket and the betting markets, like, we're never going to have a presidential election specifically, or any elections, honestly, that'll be the same ever again, because of how correct or, accurate the betting markets were, and how inaccurate the polls were again. Because the argument goes that it's such a better way to actually know what people are possibly going to do, because they're putting their money behind it, versus polling, which is, Joe Rogan has bits about this all the time, but he's like, dude, have you ever met someone that has said that they like have answered the phone for like a poll and have been answered? Like, who the hell does that?
Yeah.
They're all crazy. And that's
no. You know what's funny about that is like, because on the Trump podcast, they were talking about that, right? And I think Trump said, dude, have you ever heard of anyone ever in your life who said, hey, I got polled today? And so I'm at an event with some friends. I'm like, I'm at an event with some friends, and I'm like, dude, bro, you should have heard the way Trump talked about this. It totally made sense. That's what I was saying. I was like, dude, I've never heard of anybody who's been polled. And one of my friends like, I know someone who's been polled. I was like, there's no way you know anybody.
No way.
And he's like, no, I know. I'm like, all right, dude, whatever. It's fine.
But anyway, it's fascinating how now you can bet on anything on these poly markets, and there's a couple of competitors too. But what I was saying is, so the Hawk Tuah girl, who you said that you found out because of me, but she became like a crazy internet sensation because of this one like inappropriate joke. She put out a shitcoin. So she put out a crypto currency, and now she's in like, again, I know all this like super peripherally just because I see stuff, but I haven't looked into it, where allegedly it was like a pump and dump, like a huge one, and some people lost like a lot of money. Like, she released a crypto coin, it went up, and then a couple of like 2 or 3 wallets sold everything at the top. And there's allegations that it was people in like her circle. There's not allegations that it was her, but that stuff gets so sketchy all the time, man.
Oh yeah, dude.
So
remember Voyager, BlockFi, a variety of these went bankrupt overnight. There was a lot of stuff, but the Hawk Tuah girl, she like created like a whole brand around it, right? Like, she was like,
she had a podcast. Dude,
yeah,
she was on like big time podcast. She was like on Whitney Cummings. She was like on a bunch of like really big shows.
But yeah, wait, but so okay, all right. Anyways. So she was able to kind of do her thing, and she built off that. That's fine. But yeah, I didn't hear about her crypto. I don't keep up on as much as you do, man. I don't know how you do it. I don't know. You're uniquely qualified. I don't know.
I'm not uniquely qualified. I'm on the internet way too much. That's the problem. I got my brick. My brick came in. I just have to activate it. The thing that I was about.
The brick thing, yeah, that like you can't activate your phone or something like that. Well, no.
unless you tap it. So the whole thing is because I've tried setting up like screen time like limits. Like I'll
Yeah.
be like, I only want to spend this much time on Instagram, and
Yeah.
it'll pop up and be like, hey, you have 5 minutes left, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
do you want 10
ignore.
more minutes or whatever?
And then it'll say like your time is up, and it's just one button. So I'm always like ignore, and I end up being good about it for a week. So the whole thing with this is like I'm gonna keep it in the living room, for example, right? So when I come into work, I don't need access to a bunch of things on my phone. So
Right.
you tap this thing and it'll lock it. And there's literally no way to unlock it unless you go back to the physical little square and tap your phone to it. So,
But let's talk about that for just a quick second. How does this relate to what we do for fitness? I'm just thinking about this. You're saying like, so it's a really good example, right? We know on this podcast that you and I, we like to train. It's easy for us. We get it. We're clearly communicating that. But if you're saying, hey man, I'm on my phone too much and this one way isn't working for me, now I'm going to get this block. I guess I'm curious, like, why do you think the block is going to help you if all you need to do is walk over there and do it? Like,
it's
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's the inconvenience. Like right now, for example, I mean, this is an exaggerated example, but it's raining outside. Like there's no way that I am going outside through the rain to my living room just to like scroll on Instagram. However, if all I need to do is we're done with this podcast and I do need like a 2-second break before I dive into whatever the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to open my phone and I'm 100% going to check Instagram. And me just checking really quick is going to turn into maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes until I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? And then I'm going to like turn it off and like actually start doing it.
Right.
But if I literally had to, because yes, I could leave my phone in the house, but I do need my phone for other things. The value of this is that like you'll still get phone calls, you can still get text messages, like you can get the things. I'm still accessible, but I don't have the things that honestly I end up wasting a lot of time. And I think that I'm thank you for bringing up the analogy here because it's true, right? Like for me, I don't need like an accountability partner or like a challenge to make me go to the gym every day. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to train. I enjoy it. But like, dude, I'm addicted to my phone. Like many people my age are. Like I am. It's a problem. And it's something that has become very evident with the kids, especially where like there are times where like they're literally like he'll be like tugging at my leg and I'm on my phone and I'm not doing anything important on my phone. Nothing important. Like it's a waste of time. I'm setting a bad example. I'm not present with my kids. Like it's honestly an area that I wholeheartedly want to improve this year. And I do think that little things like this help. It's the same mentality as like if you're trying to be better about late night snacking, like put some on a plate and go sit down and watch your TV show. If you take the whole bag or the whole package, guess what? You're going to eat a lot more than if you have to get up to refill whatever you're doing. It's just creating that like little inconvenience that like is almost like a reminder of like, oh yeah, I'm trying to be better about this. So just be better about it. So anyway.
No, and I appreciate it because it's actually, well, first off, it's good personal awareness, but I also think like it's helpful. Dude, my camera continues to shut off, but it's helpful because what it does is it's laying the framework that like, hey, you're using this block as a tool, right? And this is a tool for you to reach your potential in terms of this problem. Well, if other people are having issues with training, what tools can we provide to help them get past that bring? And maybe it's a challenge. Maybe it's a TrainHard 5. Maybe it's the, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of analogies there where everybody has something they could work on. For us, we're just trying to help you on the fitness side of the house because that's an area where we, feel like we have tools and necessary things. These people, the brick company or whatever, you got to tell me how it goes, man. I'm really curious because maybe I'll get one too.
Yeah, man. I heard it on the My First Millions podcast. One of the hosts said that it was like a game changer for him. He brought up the specific example of when he goes to the gym, he uses wasting time in the gym. So that's another great example. Like maybe you're someone that, yes, you do go to the gym every day, but you know that you are spending an hour there and maybe 30 minutes of it are productive because your phone is there. Maybe it's not even Instagram. Like I know that people have different issues with this stuff. Maybe it's email, maybe it's Slack, maybe it's the fact that you can't just for the 40 minutes you're working out, like not refresh your whatever.
So if you lock it in your car, like let's just say you lock the phone and you leave the brick in the car, you go into the gym, you can't use it at all. What can you use? Damn.
So you can set different settings. I have, so it literally just came yesterday, but there's like different modes that you can set it to. So like you can like tap it and be like gym mode. Cause in the gym, maybe you want access to Spotify because you listen to music, but you don't want Instagram. Then maybe you have car mode. And then if you tap it and then you're in the car, you do want access to maps. But then you have to remember, if you're doing that, either you bring the thing with you or like you can't unlock it until you get back to the house. And then there's like,
got it.
And then what he was saying, which I think is an interesting incentive, is like there is a way to override it. Like you can, just in case you're like in an emergency or you lost the brick thing or whatever, and you actually need to access one of the things that's blocked, you can override it. But I think it gives you 3 overrides for like the life of the device, and then it just stops working. Like you can't use it anymore. Like, and then you end up like essentially losing I think it was like $50 that you spent on it. So you have to be like really diligent about like, hey, this is worth it. It's not like how I use the screen time app, which is just every single day I hit ignore when it tells me I've been on Instagram for too long.
Dude, it sounds like they've put in a lot of thought and effort into this thing. And hey, so on a completely different side note, Liz, at some point we could pull this up. I have a challenge I think you should try with Ariel. And it's really interesting to me. Speaking of Instagram, and the inspiration came from like this Firefighter video. I don't know, Liz, if you saw that, but I sent it to you earlier on Instagram. But if you want to check it out, I think you might get a kick out of it. I just changed my camera, so we're all good to go. But dude, I can you let me know? Can we report back on how that works? Because I'm really curious. Because dude, to your point, and I've gotten much better about this. Actually, it's funny. So here at TrainHard, right? We put out a lot of content, and for a while, the way I did content, I mean, for years, Gabe? I mean, years and years and years and years and years, is like I'd film content, I'd think about content, I'd film it, I'd put it up on social media, blah, blah. As of recently, we're taking a different approach where it's a little bit more structured, a little bit more calculated. I get a list of things, and we're being more, what's the word I'm looking for? Focused, right? So Gabe will say, hey, let's capture these clips. And when I'm organically doing those things, some of them, we might, set up, but in general, if he's like, hey man, I need 5 clips of you, deadlifting. Well, when I'm deadlifting, I'm just going to take 5 clips. I'm going to organically send them to him, and I'm not going to think about it again. Whereas before there would be a lot of thought process. I would take the clip, I'd then go edit it. I'd go do this. Now we're kind of creating more systems and structure. So it's really helped me to get off my phone, because I used to give myself the excuse that I needed to create posts and stuff. And I don't have that excuse anymore. Right. And so it's been great. So thanks for that.
Yeah, man. I mean, whatever works. And I think that what I hope I'm communicating from this is that sometimes, you hear us on the podcast, or you follow Jason, or you follow me. And because fitness is our world and it's what we talk about, like it seems like there's nothing we need to work on. And that is so far from the truth. Like, Jason talked about, structure. For me, it's, dude, my phone it is not good. It is a big area of improvement. So it's a big goal for me this year. And it's funny because you face the same like silly resistance, or like just like I'm sure someone listening is like, can't even understand, right? Like I can't even relate to like, well, why
how
can't
can you not
just
get off
like Instagram's fine. I have it, but I check it like, sometimes I forget to check it for a whole day. I'm sure some people are like just confused that this is an issue. And it just goes back to the fact that like everyone has different things that are areas of improvement, and some people are just not going to get it and not going to understand why it's not just look at your phone less. And it's not our job to understand kind of what everyone is struggling with. But if we can, on the fitness and nutrition side, make that a little bit easier, great. But I hope that people know that like, dude, just because that's not something I need to work on right now does not mean that there's nothing I need to work on.
Dude, I got 2 things I need to show you. One is this thing that my buddy sent me. It's like I'm gonna have to send this to you. We could talk about this on the next podcast a little bit more in depth. Super interesting, because he actually like wrote it out. So like it's just like a daily tool that he does to like literally write out what he has going on. And I'll have to send you like a blank example of it, because it's really powerful. It says rest and relaxation toolkit, and it has like the day. It says, how do you feel? Your to-do list. Like how thirsty are you? Don't forget to do these things. So anyways, I'll forward to you. We can have a conversation about it. But Liz, did you happen to get do you have that thing to pull up? I'm really interested. Okay, here we go. So, all right. Have you seen this? So I was because you brought up Instagram. Sorry, baby, you're gonna have to die. So there's this post where this firefighter comes up, takes the leg, wraps the leg over his other leg, rolls over, gets the guy on his back, and then basically runs the guy to safety. And then basically there's this woman and a man who try and do the exact same thing. And it's just a nightmare. And so I haven't tried it yet. Have you seen this?
I did once. So so Ashley has to try it. And,
yeah, Ashley has to try it. So basically what it is.
And Ariel has to try it. And I'm curious and then we have to do it too. But I'm curious if in case of a fire and you're out cold, might be the end of Jason Khalipa.
So, this is a really interesting video because, and if you're listening to this on audio, I'll kind of try and mimic it as best I can. So it starts off with two firefighters and Liz, maybe if you could replay it. It starts off with two firefighters and what it is this gentleman takes his leg, puts it in between. So the gentleman's laying down on the floor facing upright. Both of them are facing upright. He places his leg over and puts the guy's leg over his. And then he rolls them both over. So now the guy that was like out and about is now on his back. And the theory is from being on your back, you can get on all fours and stand up. And now this person is basically, you're piggybacking them more or less. And then there's this woman and a man who try it. And it's just a disaster. So I'm going to give this a shot. We'll see how it works. I'm going to get Ashley to try it.
Oh, that'll be good.
It's a good little challenge, dude. I mean, because like, honestly, you talk about like the LA fires, which are, by the way, catastrophic, but it makes you think about, well, and in that case, like, look, there's all kinds of zones and you would get a ton of updates probably. But, if you had to get someone off the ground, can you do it? And there's a variety of ways of doing it. I would have probably just dummy dragged the person out, but that way is kind of creative too.
Yeah, it's a good challenge. That'll be fun. We'll check that out.
I don't think it's going to work, dude. I don't think it's going to work.
It's funny because the firefighters in the beginning make it look very easy, but I'll try it.
Is that AI, you think?
No. No, I don't think so.
They make it look really easy, the firefighters, and the woman not so much.
No, not so much. I read this article. I wanted to bring this up because I'm curious your take. We've talked about Ozempic a little bit on here, and I know that that's also a little bit of controversial, but there's this really, really good article on the Free Press.
Yeah, I read that one.
I mean, I thought it was a very, very interesting takeaway because like celebrities always tend to move like the needle of fashion, right? Like things become trendy because it's like the pinnacle of, and maybe this is different now because maybe now celebrities don't have the type of pull that they used to because now in many ways, like everyone could be a celebrity. Like you don't have to be a movie star to have a big following. Like the internet is kind of like level that. So maybe that in itself has just changed things. But what the article talked about specifically was the Golden Globes just happened. And obviously the red carpet at the Golden Globes is like a big deal where like everyone's taking pictures and you're kind of like, it's always been like an open commentary on how the biggest movie stars are dressed and how they're looking. And what I thought was a very true observation was that for a lot of the women actors, and they specifically posted Ariana Grande, who's just in Wicked as one of the examples, incredibly thin seems to be in again. Like super, super, super thin. Like the title of the article was, "Is Heroin Chic Back?" Because heroin chic was like what they called when, back in the day, a lot of women were, doing a lot of drugs and very skinny. Like that tended to be like the aesthetic. And we kind of like the pendulum went in the other direction, right? Like then there was a lot of like, more full bodied women, like kind of being like the pinnacle of fashion and beauty. And that was more okay. But now the argument is that with a lot of movie stars taking some of these weight loss drugs, that the pendulum is swinging in the other direction, right? And that like beauty and celebrities are so thin. And then the question obviously becomes like, is that a detriment to the progress that was being made about like, you don't have to be super thin. Like, and I think that, coming from the CrossFit space, I think the CrossFit space specifically very much contributed to this like, idea that like women should be strong and like that there's another body type that is completely acceptable and very beautiful and very appealing that isn't super thin. So I just thought it was a really interesting observation, and I hope that that's
That
not
was in Vanity Fair, right? Or no, what was it in?
the
I don't know
Free
if Liz
Press.
has it. It was okay. But you know what's interesting, dude? Is so they made an argument. They talk about like Lizzo, right? And how she like went on a weight loss journey and how she was like kind of promoting, kind of her body size. And then she kind of went on a journey. And there's been other people like, to your point, like it kind of like it became a little bit more acceptable, right? Or whatever. But do you think it primarily stems with women? Like, do you think like, because based on the article, they were really talking about women.
Yeah.
It didn't seem to really affect men, right? Like, it seemed like that the trend's been neutral the whole time. It seemed like the women have gone through this evolution, right? And this is us as like, dude, I am not a fashionista. I just read the article and I was intrigued by what they had to say about the impact of Ozempic and the body type, because what they went into is like, was the bigger body like all fake? Like they kind of went into that. Like, was it all like a front?
Yeah.
Like, and then they went into like these Ozempic bodies, they look a certain way and people could tell, right? But they don't really address that for men, which I thought was interesting. Like it really, I don't know what's changed for men, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, if I think about like the aspirational male aesthetic, and it's funny, there was just a clip I saw this morning that was super interesting about this. I don't think that that's changed. Like, I think that if you,
I don't think so either.
A lot of men look at like, in the clip that I saw this morning, they were talking about Brad Pitt because it was an interview with Derek for More Plates, More Dates.
Yeah.
And essentially the interviewer asked Derek, like, are all these movie stars constantly doing steroids to get like their peak physique for these roles? And if so, is it realistic for the average man to look like, these male physiques that are in movies that a lot of men point towards as like the ideal? And like they brought up Brad Pitt, they brought up Chris Hemsworth,
Yep.
Thor, and they had pictures of those physiques, and obviously like those look like the holy grail for what a lot of men would say that they want to look like, right? Like not bodybuilder big, but like obviously a lot of muscle and obviously super lean. And the interesting thing that Derek brought up was that these guys in these roles, like if you look at Brad Pitt in Troy, which was the specific movie that they were talking about there's a scene where he's shirtless. He's like 160 pounds in that role.
Right.
He's like 165. Right. Like these guys in movies that look super jacked are actually pretty small. Like what he was saying is it's not a steroid thing. Like they're not necessarily packing on a bunch of muscle. What they're actually doing is like getting lean to the point that isn't even sustainable for them. Right? Like they're trying to get as lean as possible for like a week of shooting. Like they know that they're going to be shooting the scenes where they're shirtless like this week, and they're like super water, like, like all the water weight is gone. Like they can't even sustain that physique beyond the week when they're filming. So it's less of a, what is this? WTF?
Men's Health. Men who look, I don't know.
Similar to how the dad bod movement celebrated guys like Patrick Mahomes and Jason Kelsey, bellies and all, the hot rodent trend is steering away from the hyper-masculine stereotypes historically idealized in pop culture and encouraging us to appreciate your average-looking Joe. That's really funny. That's interesting.
I mean, it sounds Liz pulled up this article, but dude, it's really, look, you got a lot of guys who are super jacked in these movies, but I don't think that all of them are on whatever, bro. I don't think you don't need to. Like, you can get pretty damn lean.
He said that obviously it depends on the guy. Like if you're talking about The Rock or like a Dan Bautista, like those types of physiques, like obviously that's not happening like it's kind of accepted that like Dwayne The Rock Johnson is on heavy amounts of gear. But most guys aren't, that's not what they're pointing towards as like no one's, like, hey, I'm going to sign up for TrainHard and do TH5 because I want to look like The Rock. But I think that a lot of guys would point to something like the Brad Pitt in Fight Club or Troy and be like, yeah, like that's my ideal. So I think it's just
what do you think that underwater movie, what's it called? The water, damn it. I feel like it's such an idiot right now. I'm thinking Avatar?
No.
What? Not Avatar. the Disney, like the Disney, fuck. The guy who's like the superhero underwater. Why am I like
Aquaman?
totally?
Oh, yeah.
Aquaman, yeah.
Jason
Jason
Momoa.
Momoa. Yeah, you think he's on gear? Because Ashley
Nah,
used to
dude,
think he was cute or whatever, and I was like, hey man, I don't know about this guy. Come on.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I'm definitely not an expert.
Who
but
knows?
I do love.
It's been pretty steady for a long time about what guys I think aspire to be, and I think for the women, I think it kind of has evolved a little bit over time. And I think the Ozempic thing is going to continue to be a conversation in many circles for a long time to come.
And again, the reason that I brought that up is because I think that, and we've all kind of come to this agree. We talked to Jordan Side about this. We talked to, the gentleman from Blokes who, Josh, sorry. Yeah. We talked to Josh about this. Like there is a subset of people that can benefit from this stuff.
100%.
But I think the important thing, and just what is worth stating, is that like what we can all agree isn't good and isn't beneficial is for the person, mostly women that we're talking about here, that's already thin to try and be thinner using these things. Like that's the problem. That's what a lot of celebrities are openly doing. And I think that's where this stuff gives me a lot of trepidation, because it's a slippery slope, right? Like for the person that is just so overweight and can benefit from losing some weight just to get active, just to start doing the right things, to get the habits, I can see that working if they're doing it responsibly, 100%. And I think I've even like changed my tune on that a little bit. But I think that if you're just trying to get that last 10%, you shouldn't be doing it this way. Specifically, if you're trying to like reach what's honestly like an unsustainable, unhealthy, unrealistic aesthetic that's like, you see in a movie or you see with movie stars that are, generally speaking, like not the healthiest in the role, right? Like they're doing it for a very specific role. They're not like, oh, this is how I want to look and feel to feel my best.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Why do you think you changed your tune a little bit? Why do you think as you've gotten older with kids, you've become more open-minded? Because I'm like 10 years ahead of you, right? In terms of like with the kid thing. And so
it's the stress bucket analogy that I brought up a while back. Like I think that to me, this is a great way to communicate to anyone just how like it works with like trying to find discipline and trying to like figure out like your fitness, your nutrition, and anything. It's like you carry a bucket around every single day. And there are things that add stress to that bucket. And once that bucket starts overflowing, you're going to like make bad decisions. You're going to be moody. You're going to have anxiety. You're just going to be a mess. Like your goal should be to accomplish what you need to accomplish in any given day without your stress bucket overflowing. And before kids, that stress bucket's pretty empty. So you can be super gung-ho about like food and like, no, I'm never going to do that. Like never going to touch that because I heard, someone on Instagram say that this is bad. But like you have the energy or the stress space in your bucket to be like very, very, dogmatic about some stuff. But dude, like once you have kids and once like they, require you to like be on and show up for them and also like add a lot of stress to your day. Like kids are amazing, but like anyone that's a parent will agree, like there's a lot of stressful moments in that. There's someone else you have to take care of. There's more responsibilities. There's the crying. There's the, are they sick? There's the this, that like, I just don't have the space in there to stress about what the ingredient list looks like, or, am I having, something that's a food dye that maybe isn't great for me? I can make decisions based on principles that I know are getting me 95% of the way there, but it's not worth me adding to my stress bucket for the last 5%. Like it's just not. If I had the room, maybe it would be. Right? Like if I had the room, then yeah, I would cut out all food dyes, make sure I never have any seed oils, make sure that, like everything I have is whole food, make sure everything that I have is from the farmer's market and, is like super, super organic and wild caught and all that stuff. Like maybe I would, but right now I'm trying to hit my protein goals. I'm trying to get 3 square meals. I'm trying to get good sleep, train every day, have a really good relationship with my wife and be the best at ever. And like that is about what I have room for. And it's all good. And I'm trying to look at my phone less. That's it.
Yeah. I think where I was going with that, and I think we'll kind of finish it out here. It's like, as you get older, I think it's really important for all of us. Most people that listen to this podcast are somewhere in their 30s, 40s, 50s, some 60s. And I think the older you get, man, the wiser you become, you realize the less you actually know and the more open-minded you need to become. And I think one of two things happen as you get older. You either become more closed-minded. I've met a lot of those people. Or you become more open-minded. And I choose to be the more open-minded person because I've met people that are on both sides of that. I'm sure you have too, Gabe. There was a 95-year-old woman at the bank the other day trying to, talk about her $20 fee. And it was very cool. This lady, 95, walks in on her own. She's championing for her $20 fee to get back. And the guy was being super kind to her. But anyways, dude, when you're 95, like you could your mind could be like this and not be open to anything. And your routine is your routine and you believe what you believe, or you can continue to be a little bit more open-minded as you get older. And at least for me, I've become more open-minded the older I get. Through life experiences, I've learned to have more grace, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. So that's
For
it.
sure, man.
That's it. Well, hey, we appreciate you guys. A lot of really good episodes have been coming out. We have a bunch of guest episodes. We have episodes with Dennis, MDV, and Gabe and myself. We also obviously have the episodes with Gabe and I. Simple ask. We ask this every single podcast, actually. And I actually ask this every single podcast. So I'm going to ask you right now. I'm going to ask in a very different way. We want to grow the podcast. We want to impact more people. It is a big mission for us. And the only way we could do that is by you guys sharing that with your friends, sharing with other people, and letting people know if you get value from the podcast. So we'd appreciate you guys doing that. It would mean a great deal to us. I hope you and your family have a kick-ass rest of the month. Let's get it.